Alright, so it's currently August 20th. I'm about to start my first week being a senior in college next week. And, who would have fucking thought that this summer was the summer that I finally started making progress as a trader? I've been trading for 3.5 years now, approaching my fourth. And, you know, in all of those years, I always told myself, oh, I am going to become a profitable day trader. I'm going to quit my job. Day trading is going to be my full-time thing. I kept on telling myself all this stuff, but unfortunately, it never fruition during all those summers. And I would always tell my friends, I made a bet, right? I was like his fucking maid for a week. Or no, not for a week, for a day. Because I was so confident, I thought that, all I gotta do is be confident and manifest that, I will become a profitable day trader. And I will beat him in this bet. And unfortunately, he works full time. So no matter how, because I got zero payouts from day trading, I didn't even stand a chance. So you're like, you know what, bro, you got it. You beat me. And yeah, pretty much spent the entire day picking up fucking dog shit. But it just goes to show that, no matter how much belief that you have, things don't always go your way in that time horizon. And so, it was pretty disappointing, but I never really gave up that sense of hope or that confidence that, I would be able to achieve my goal. Because whatever you can conceive, you can achieve, all right? If your mind can't even believe that you can do it, how would you ever stand a chance at achieving your goal? When you fall asleep, you have to fucking pretend to be asleep to be asleep, right? And then, it just gets you thinking like, man, how long can I really do this for? How long can I fake it for until something finally happens? And this summer was my most productive summer. Yeah, I bumped up the amount of hours I worked at my job. I kept my mornings and afternoon. Yeah, I kept my mornings open so I could trade the first few macros. And I'd go into work. I'd DoorDash when I got home if I was feeling like it. And I had my first 10K month, my first 5K month. It was a crazy fucking summer. Last month, concluding my summer, it was pretty fucking slow. I only made, a couple, 3,000 maybe. Maybe I might make four if I get two more payouts by the end of this month, which, I'm not expecting anything. Whatever the market gives me, I'll just deal with it. But, it was just interesting because how could I possibly gotten to this point had I just given up? Because I'm not going to say that there were multiple times where, my faith started wavering. I didn't know whether I'd make it or not. Because at one point, all my friends were like, dude, you've been trading for how long? And they'd always ask me, how much money you make from trading? I'm like, oh, just break even. Oh, I took a loss today. I would never tell them I was winning because I didn't have any wins. I had zero payouts. But this summer, it finally changed, I finally started getting the confidence to start posting, but like, oh shit, dude, like, am I finally starting to understand my strategy enough? Am I trading enough that I can start posting about it without looking like an idiot? And, I started doing that, and now it's like, I've made more progress than I have in this one summer than I have my past 3 years trading, right? I had nothing to show for it. But now it's like these 3 months, it just fucking exponentially compounded. Who would have thought that as a 21-year-old, that's when I would hit my first 10K month before taxes and expenses? Okay? If I combine my girlfriend's income, then I definitely make that goal. But anyways, point is, what is my point here? I'm actually not sure. Anyways, story time. Let's transition to that before I have to go. Story time. The amount of self-belief that I had is fucking, like, it's irrational. Because when everything was telling me to quit, I kept on going. Like, here's this story that, maybe it might resonate with you. During my sophomore year of college, or maybe my junior year, my mom had this friend of hers that was married to some really rich dude. I don't know what the wife did, as a job. But I'm pretty sure the dude was the one doing the most of the like heavy lifting when it came to contributing financially, because he's the one that I talked to and met up with. Right? My mom was like, "Oh, you gotta talk to this guy. He's a millionaire. Like, listen to what he says. Do whatever he says. Fucking kiss his ass." And I'm like, you know what? Well, maybe he's in finance. Maybe he's doing something that, that I was, I'm always down to open. I'm not above this dude, okay? Results wise and money wise, I'm not smarter than him. As far as I know, I'm not more wiser. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to listen. But when I met up with him, the advice that he gave me was completely contradictory to what he was like, what he actually did. What he actually did was take the fucking risk. He became an entrepreneur, started up his own business. He's like, oh yeah, it was hard. Like, fuck, man. Like, I busted my ass off, but I managed to scale it up a shit ton, sold the business for millions of dollars, and yeah, now here I am. And I'm thinking, okay, so why are you not telling me more about that and telling me to do that? What they actually told me, or what he actually told me to do, was get a fucking internship, study hard in college, take more extracurriculars and shit, and, get a good job and be a good wage slave. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? Why was your advice completely contradictory to how you lived your life? You got successful because you lived this way, and you're telling me I had to live. You're telling me to live completely differently. And, it was at that point where I decided, you know what? I'm going to deny his advice. All right? Sounds pretty fucking crazy. At the time, I was pretty much a broke 20-year-old. Maybe I was 21. I don't remember. I was broke 20-year. No, I was definitely 20. I was a broke 20-year-old, and it's like, dude, why are you denying the advice of this millionaire? But it's like, the belief that I had in myself was so fucking strong that I knew that as long as I kept on going with my trading, and I just stuck to the strategy, I stopped getting in my own way. I hold my trades to target. I executed when my trade strategy told me to execute. I'd wake up on time. I stopped being lazy. I did the work that was required of me. I would make it as a trader. And, it took months. Because I think it was like a semester or two ago that I had that conversation with that rich dude. And it was this summer that I finally started seeing the results. So it's like, dude, how fucking crazy do you have to be to completely ignore and reject the advice of this dude who's way more successful than you, and you're over here with nothing to show for it, and you're like, nah, dude, you're wrong, right? That's the amount of belief that I had in myself, where it's like, I might never become like I don't know how many millions he sold his business for. I don't know if I'm ever going to match his level when it comes to trading overall, but I'd be content if I even hit if I hit 7 figures, if I just had $1 million from trading and work my own personal brand, be an entrepreneur, I'm content. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to scale much higher than that without, completely costing me my freedom. Because my whole goal is to be content with what I have. I want to be able to travel whenever. I want to be able to pay the bills fully. Like, I want everything to I just want that financial freedom of not having to work under someone else, and not being forced to show up to work when I'm sick, or whenever I want to travel. Oh no, you gotta put in it 1 month in. No. I'd rather go whenever the fuck I want. All right, that was my whole goal. That was my whole reason for wanting to become a successful trader. So that's where I'm at in my trading. So I don't know how much harder I'm gonna work in college. I'm gonna drop my hours. I'm gonna only work 2 days a week, but you bet my personal brand is gonna be getting 10, 15 stories a day on Instagram, so I can build that connection with my followers. Show you guys the process, and then for my trading, be spending a lot more time studying it, so that way I do know like what's a good trade, what's not, and increase my accuracy, increase my profitability, and be able to share that with you guys. And eventually, no trader wants to say it, but eventually the main goal is to sell a course or coaching. All right, my whole goal is coaching. I don't believe in courses, because courses are like, it's not really hands-on. You don't really get much from that. There is YouTube videos at the end of the day, and you probably figure it out yourself. But it's the time-saving aspect of coaching and the whole, like, you have access to the person that, hey, I have a question. Why did this demand zone fail? Oh, hey, it failed because that is worth $1,000 right there. Not, this zone works because, and then that's all you have to work with, and you can't ever get in touch with the dude. So yeah, anyways, that's my summer recap. Pretty successful summer for me. Hopefully I can make trading my full-time job, but that's it.